Have you ever looked at your life and thought, if I keep doing exactly what I'm doing right now, where does this road actually take me? And I'm not talking about next week or next year. I'm talking about 5, 10 years from now. If I keep doing what I'm doing, where does this road take me? A while back, I asked myself that same question, and I didn't like my answer because what I realized is that I could very easily keep doing what I was doing. I could keep working. I could keep paying bills, keep handling my responsibilities. I could keep getting through one week and then moving on to the next and repeating it all over and over. Nothing fell apart for me. Um, and that was the part that bothered me the most because what I realized is that I was working to live, but I wasn't really living. I wasn't necessarily choosing my life every day. I was continuing it. Hear the difference? Once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. Anyway, if you're new here, hi, I'm Mariah and this is Inner Wick. I want to talk to you today about something that I wish I had understood much earlier in my life. Maybe you've had similar thoughts. Maybe nothing is terribly wrong. You're functioning, you're responsible, you're doing what needs to be done. But underneath all of that, there's the question, is this really how I want to keep spending my life? And maybe you don't know the answer, and that's okay. Because I think this is where a lot of us get stuck. We believe that we have to know exactly what we want before we're allowed to change anything. I believed that. I believed that for a long time. I thought if I was going to change my life, I needed some grand vision for what came next. I thought that I needed some finished plan before I committed. I thought I needed certainty. I needed to know that I was making the right decision. But what I learned is the problem with waiting for certainty is you can wait a very long time because your life keeps moving while you're waiting. Your days come and go with no action. And that's what started changing for me. I stopped expecting that I needed to figure out my entire future in one sitting, and I started paying attention to what was going on in my actual life. I paid attention to what gave me energy, what drained it. I paid attention to what I kept thinking about, the things that I was curious about, the things that I wanted to experience that I kept putting off. And then instead of requiring myself to know where those things were going to lead, I just started trying some of them. It sounds simple, but I'm telling you, it changed the way that I think about when my life started changing. I started realizing that clarity doesn't come before action. Action oftentimes gives you evidence, and the evidence gives you the clarity. Think about that. For example, you can sit on your couch for 6 months trying to decide whether or not you would enjoy traveling alone. Or you can take one small trip and find out whether or not you like it. You can spend years wondering whether you'd enjoy doing something creative, or you can make something. You can wonder whether you'd feel better with more time outside, or you can spend a Saturday outside and pay attention to how you feel. You don't have to announce to the whole world, this is who I am now, because at this point, you're just discovering. At this point, you're gathering information. And that distinction matters, especially when you've spent years making decisions based on what was practical, what was responsible, what was expected of you, or what was necessary. Because When you reach this stage of life, the stakes can feel enormous. Newsflash, we're not 22 anymore. We have responsibilities, we have history, we have people who are depending on us, we have people who are accustomed to who we are, and sometimes that makes us believe that every change has to be some enormous decision, like quit the job, sell the house, move across country, end the relationship, start the business, blow everything up. But what if it doesn't start there? What if it starts with an experiment? One of the things that I've noticed about myself is that the things that make me feel most alive are actually pretty simple, like being outside or going somewhere I've never been, or having enough space and quiet to hear myself think. Those are incredibly simple. Trying something just because I'm curious about it, that is so simple. And I don't think that those things suddenly became important to me. They were probably always important. I just finally started paying attention to what they tell me about myself. And that's the evidence. That's the evidence. So I'm talking about collecting evidence. Not evidence that proves that you should turn your entire life upside down. I'm talking about evidence that helps you know yourself, because there's another side to this. Sometimes when you try something and you find out you don't like it, good. Now you know. That's not a failed experiment. It's useful information. So go take the class. You might realize that you absolutely do not want that interest to turn into a career. Great. You learned something. Or maybe you finally go somewhere that you've dreamed about living and you realize, well, I love visiting here, but I would never want to live here. You learned something. Try this one. Say no to something that you normally would have agreed to. And instead of feeling guilty, you feel this enormous sense of relief. Pay attention to that, because this isn't about chasing every feeling or making impulsive decisions. It's about becoming curious about yourself again. And that curiosity is something a lot of women slowly lose, because we spend so many years doing what we're supposed to do as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, taking care of our home. Eventually, we stop asking what we want to experience in our own lives. And if you've been doing that for a long time, if someone were to ask you, what do you want? It can actually be a surprisingly difficult question. You might really not know. So don't start with that question. Start smaller. Ask yourself, what am I curious about? Don't ask yourself, what do I want? What am I curious about? It's an easier question because curiosity doesn't require a commitment. It only asks you to explore, and that exploration gives you some evidence. So go take the class. Go apply for the job. Put on those roller skates. Go somewhere that you've never been before, or spend the afternoon doing the thing that you keep telling yourself you don't have time for. Just try something that you've been daydreaming about. And when you do, pay attention to how it makes you feel. Promise me this. Don't determine whether or not, or even if you're good at it. Don't determine whether or not you're good at it, because getting good at things oftentimes comes with time and patience and practice, but pay attention to you. Pay attention to how you felt. Did you feel engaged? Did you lose track of time? Did something wake up inside you? Did you feel relieved? Do you want more? Or did you think, nope, that's not for me? All of it is information. All of it is information. Good feelings, bad feelings, loved it, hated it. All of that is information. And enough of those little pieces of information start showing you something. It shows you a direction. It doesn't necessarily give you a destination, but it shows you a direction. And that's where I think I had it backward for a very long time. I thought that I needed to know where I was going before I could move. Now, I think that you have to move a little before you can see where you want to go. And that lesson has taken a tremendous amount of pressure off of me because I don't have to have the next 10 years figured out. I don't even want to. I'm having fun experimenting with my own life. Changing direction does not mean that everything that came before was a mistake, because I appreciate everything that got me here, but I don't believe that I had to stay there. And those are two completely different things. You can be grateful for the life that you built and still decide that you want something different from the years ahead of you. You can love people and change your boundaries. You can appreciate a career and still outgrow it. You can be proud of the woman that you had to become and still be curious about the woman that you're becoming now. That's not throwing your life away. If anything, it's finally becoming more willing to listen to the person that you've probably been all along. And maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you can't tell me exactly what you want your life to look like 5 years from now. I know that I can't tell you exactly what mine will look like, but maybe we've been asking ourselves for an answer that we don't need yet. Maybe we should be asking, what is one thing I'm curious? What is one thing I'm curious enough about to actually experience? And once you experience it, pay attention. Pay attention to what that answer tells you, because you don't need to reinvent your entire life this weekend. You just need enough courage to gather one new piece of information about yourself. Just use an hour this weekend. Use an afternoon this weekend. Go enjoy one experience. In the big scheme of things, it's one small decision. Give yourself some evidence and then trust yourself enough to look at what it tells you. Because maybe starting over at this age isn't about finally having the perfect plan. Maybe it's about realizing that you still get to choose what happens next. And I think that's a beautiful place to begin. So this week, don't try to figure out your whole life. Just choose one thing that you're curious about and go experience it. Go experience it. And then come back and tell me about what you learned about yourself. I genuinely love to hear it. If these are the kinds of conversations that you've been needing in your life, subscribe and stay with me. This is Mariah with Inner Wick. And sometimes returning to yourself starts with nothing more than being curious enough to see what's still there. Take care and keep shining. I'll see you next time.